Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon. So as you heard me speak upstairs during the church, we are at the tail end of our young adult conference, and our community has the distinct pleasure of welcoming to it Paulette Poulos. Now, in the course of the Greek Orthodox Church's history in America, there are individuals and church leaders that are known by just one name: Athenagoras, Michael, Iakovos. There are individuals who have dedicated their life assisting the national church, working at the Archdiocese, who are not ordained, who are lay individuals, who have served the church with distinction and love. People like Rula, people like Teo. And above all of those individuals, known simply by one name, really, is Paulette. It's really just one name that signifies many things, foremost that of love. Because stranger or priest, bishop or beggar, you were treated the same. You were treated with open arms, you were welcomed, you were not simply made to feel like a distraction. You were made to feel like a king or queen in her presence. It is the way that she lived every day of her life and the way that she continues to serve the church. She has served in the Archdiocese in various positions on all different types of levels for 50 years, maybe a little bit more, 50 years coming up to. Including over 25 years in the office of Archbishop Iakovos as the essential director of the Archbishop's office, in which she interacted with presidents, vice presidents, first ladies, kings and queens from all nations around the world, really assisting His Eminence behind the scenes and being able to lift the church in any way that she could, and the ministry of His Eminence Archbishop Iakovos to lift the presence of the Orthodox Church further, not simply in this country, but in the world. So it really is my distinct pleasure to welcome her today, to have her speak. And since we talked about how you encompass this word of discipline in our lives, I could honestly think of no other person that personifies that more than Paulette. So, Paulette.
Thank you, Father Peter. My real name is Panayota Poulomaneos, but everybody knows me as Paulette, thank God. I'm here today primarily because of Father Peter. Father Peter called me a few months ago and said, "Paulette, please put this date in your calendar." And I looked at my calendar and I said, "Father, I don't know." He goes, "Please do it. It's for the young people." And first of all, you can't say no to Father Peter, because just as he was talking about me as I was coming this morning in the car, my thoughts went back to Archbishop Iakovos of blessed memory, and we were talking about that earlier with some of the dear people. Father Peter, and I have said this, there are 3 metropolitans who were his deacon, and there was 1 bishop who was his deacon, and there was 1 Father Peter. And I tell everyone that in all my years in the Archdiocese, for me, the best deacon for Archbishop Iakovos was Father Peter. 1 reason was his humility. 2 was his kind, patient demeanor. He never got nervous. He never got upset. And even though he and his beloved wife, Vangie, who really, they are an inspiration, God has blessed them with very special John Peter, a very special child. And I remember there were nights when Peter was all night in the hospital, and at 5 in the morning, he would just come back to the hotel from meetings that we were planning for 7 o'clock in the morning with His Eminence. His Eminence was very, very early in the morning. And I would say, "Father Peter, why don't you go sleep for an hour? I don't need you for the breakfast. You come at 9. "No, Paulette, that's my cathecon. That's my job. I'm his deacon." He never once missed anything. So, Father, I Thank you. And this parish, I know that you know it, but you are very blessed to have such a dedicated priest. I can honestly say he's one of the best priests of the Archdiocese, Archdiocesan. And the other part of this deals with our young people, who I had an opportunity to meet with today. And you know, Cardinal Spellman had a favorite expression. There are 3 stages in life: young, middle-aged, and you look wonderful. Today, we have a little bit of everything. And so I want to touch on a little bit. Father Peter asked me to talk about a little bit about my life. I went to the Archdiocese in '65, and I told the Archbishop, Your Eminence, I'm going to stay for 1 year. I have a scholarship to PACE. I'm going to be a CPA. And he looked at me, and with a deep voice, he said, once you come, you will never leave. And the lessons you have here are far, far more valuable for your entire life. I had the privilege of serving the Archbishop during his last years. I served as the I started with Mr. Ernie Villas, a very dedicated man, as a secretary in the Department of Laity. People thought it was the ladies' department, but it was laity. And we did programs for the lay people of the church. Welcome to the parish council. And I remember a very important lesson that I learned from Mr. Villas, and I kept it throughout all my years at the Archdiocese. The very first month I was with him, we did the Welcome to the Parish Council. And the community in Minneapolis sent a beautiful picture. We didn't have digitals, and we didn't have Teo, and we didn't have all of those things. We had a simple camera. And they sent us a picture, and I said, this is great, Mr. Villas. It's beautiful. It's clear. He goes, Paulette, send it back. I said, why? Why am I sending it back? It's great. No. He said, take a good look at this picture. You know what's wrong with it? I said, no. He said, look where the priest is sitting. It was a parish council meeting. The president and the lay people were at the front, and the priest was at the back. He said, never forget, the priest is the head of the community. He does not sit in the back of the table. He sits in the front. I never forgot that lesson. The clergy are the head of the parish. When I saw Father Stephen this morning and I saw Father Joel, I thought how nice it is that this community has a wonderful proestamino, but it also has other clergymen, one of which, together with Presbytera Sandra, will celebrate 45 years in the ministry. This is a big thing for our priests. We need to encourage young men. I serve on the committee at Hellenic College for scholarships, and I happen to be the executive director of the Leadership 100 program. And when they offered it to me, I turned it down the first time. And the Archbishop said to me, why are you turning it down? It was Archbishop Spiridon. I said, with all due respect, this is a rich man's organization. I really don't want to be the director. I'm going to take the stewardship program and help the priests raise money through their total commitment and their parishes. And he looked at me. He said, are you sure? I said, yes. Then years later, when things changed and His Eminence was getting ready to pass on, he said to me, Paulette, do you remember when you wanted to be a CPA? I said, you remember that? It was 40-something years ago. And he turned to me and he said, instead of counting money, you can help bring Christians into the church. And that's what you've done over these years. You've helped bring Christians. Now, I didn't bring the Christians. I'm not the priest. But I'm part of what the young people are today. In life, the focal point is the church. I don't care where you go. Many executives, I meet many times with top COOs who are multi-billionaires. And you know what touches me the most? Not their money, not their offices, but the icon that they have in their office. Many times I'll meet with someone and he'll have a beautiful icon of the Panagia. And I'll say, oh, you're religious. And sometimes they'll say to me, how do you think I got here? Well, they're right. Success doesn't come alone. It comes with discipline. And yes, there are distractions, as you saw during the week, as you talked during the weekend about distractions and discipline. But the life of the church, I cannot think of my life not being tied to the church. when I was the director for a Logos program, League of Greek Orthodox Stewards, we collected $100 a year. And there was one man who could not pay the $100. He used to send me $10 at a time. And I didn't know who he was. And one day he said, you know, I want to tell you my story. I was from New Hampshire, and my father died. And I went to the church with my brothers. We were poor, and I asked the secretary to book the funeral. And she said, I'm sorry, are you members of the church? And I said, no, we're not. She said, sorry, go somewhere else. Now, the secretary didn't know to call the priest, to have the priest speak with the family. We don't turn someone away because they can't afford to be a member. He left the church and became Methodist. He buried his father out of the Methodist church. And years later, Archbishop Iakovos brought him back to the church. And one day he came up to me and he said, I want to give you something for the church. And I said, okay, thank you. I put the envelope in my bag, and at the end of the day, I said to the Archbishop, this gentleman gave us this envelope, and he told me to use it for the church, but to thank you for bringing him back. I opened the envelope, and the man that was once poor, and I'm talking in the 70s, handed me a check for $100,000. At that time, that was a lot of money. And I called him up, and I said, Christo, did you make a mistake? You put a lot of zeros there. And he said, Paulette, God has blessed me. God has blessed me. He has taken me under the wing. I met Archbishop Iakovos, a charismatic man, and I found my way back. And now this is my way to say thank you. Well, this touched me, along with two other very special things, and the reason I'm bringing them up are for the young people. Years ago, we went to Mobile, Alabama for an ingenia, a consecration. And anyone who's been to a consecration knows they go 6 hours minimum. And in the church, this young man came up to me. He wasn't young, he was in his 40s, but that was young. And he said, are you Paulette? I said, yes. He said, I need to see the Archbishop. I said, my Episcopos is doing a service. It's going to be a long one. Can one of the bishops help you? No, he said, please. It's very personal. Please. I drove all night from Atlanta. Please let me wait with you. I said, of course. You're welcome to pray with us. 6 hours later, I went over to His Eminence, and I said to him in Greek that there is a young man, a middle-aged man who wants to see you, but he's very nervous. So I'm going to stand next to him. And the reason I'm not that I can do anything, but I can run for help. And all of a sudden, the young man went up to the Archbishop, and he touched his arm like this. And as he touched his arm, the Archbishop had a phenomenal memory. And he said, oh, you're the young man? Came up to me Thanksgiving, Vietnam, when I was doing the service. The man falls backwards, falls on me. If there wasn't a wall, we would have both gone down. And he starts to cry and tremble. He said, please, this is embarrassing. Take me away from this so that everyone won't see me crying. I took him on the side. I said, is there something that we should know? He said, well, you don't know the story. He said, I was a soldier. I'm Greek Orthodox, and I was in Vietnam. And the last week that I was there, 2 of my best friends were killed in combat. And they went home in boxes. So that week, Thanksgiving morning, I was very depressed. I have 2 sisters and a mother and father back home. And what did I do? I wrote my dad a letter. And I said, dear Dad, thank you for being such a great dad, but I have a feeling I'm coming home sooner than you think. I'm coming home not the way you want, in a box I'm coming home. And I need you to prepare Mom and Dad, Mom and my 2 sisters, for what's coming, because I'll be coming home just like my friends. But I love you. Thank you for being a wonderful dad. Please help Mom and my sisters to get through this. He writes the letter, love your son, puts it in an envelope and addresses it. A young soldier comes, he says, hey, your Greek Archbishop is here. The young man said, my Archbishop wouldn't be here, it must be the Catholic one. No, no, no. He said, you have a Greek Archbishop. He's wearing a crown. He's got a distinguished white beard. Come quick. He said, I thought to myself, it's not my Archbishop, but I'll go. I walk out, and what do I see? 4,000 soldiers, a beautiful platform, and the Archbishop with his gold vestments saying, do not be afraid. God is with you. And he gave every one of those soldiers a small icona of the Panagia. The man took out the Panagia and he showed it to me. He said, I've had this all these years. Wherever I go, this goes in my pocket. And I came here to thank him because of what I did. I said, what did you do? So we went over to the Archbishop and he said, Your Eminence, I was with you that day and I was very down. And I went up to the front where you were talking and I went to touch you. And you thought I wanted to help you divest and be an altar boy. And you said, no, my son, I'm okay. And I said, I don't want to help you take off your vestments. I want to see if you're real or if I'm dreaming. And as he touched him, he said, Your Eminence, how did you know me so many years later? I was an 18-year-old kid with a lot of hair. Now I have little hair and it's all white and I'm much heavier. I'm a dentist. How did you know me? By the tremor in your hand and the fear in your eyes, I knew you. Now that was the Archbishop's gift. He knew everyone. The young man said, he said, come with me. You're not dreaming. Let's go break bread together. And the Archbishop, till the day he died, always said the most delicious Thanksgiving he had was with corn on the cob from a can, apple pie from a can. He loved being with the soldiers, and he loved singing God Bless America. Well, the young man was so moved that when he got back to his room 4 hours later to the dorm, he forgot about the letter, and it sat on his dresser for 1 week. And he said, a week later, I saw the letter and I ripped it up. I never sent it to my dad. So I wanted to thank him personally for sparing my father that pain that he would have gotten if he received. I said, that's a beautiful story. He said, I was looking at the paper and I saw His Eminence's picture coming to Mobile, and I drove all night. Now those are the experiences that talk about faith, okay? Talk about your life being focused around your faith. I pray that all of you become successful, and from talking to you, I can see you will. But you don't want to forget the most important gift you received from your parents. The Sunday school, the upbringing. I've served, as Father Peter said, in many capacities in the Archdiocese. I'm now on the committee working for St. Nicholas, and we're hoping a lot of you will be there for the dedication, and especially the young people, because it'll be the first Orthodox presence at Ground Zero. And I was there at the beginning when Archbishop Iakovos went with Archbishop Demetrius and did a prayer. And it was a cold, rainy day, and it was a real cemetery. It was a very sad day knowing how many people lost their lives there. But I went this past week to set up for this event, and it's different. Life does go on. And even though we have the pain, and even though we see the firemen's photos, we still can feel new life there. We can feel a new presence where this beautiful church will be built. But service to the church is not something that anyone can take for granted. I love what I do. You know, people say, well, they used to say to the Archbishop, how come Paulette's not married? She loves children, she loves life. She married the church. And they'd look at me and say, you don't look like a nun. I'm not a nun. But when you've given a part of your life to the church, and you have, yes, I've met presidents, I've met kings, I've met queens, and that's all wonderful. But the people that are the most important to me are the people who are of the faith. The woman that was, I'm sorry I forgot your name, but she's right over there. She was telling me how wonderful her kids loved the summer camp with you, Father Peter, and how much they benefited. And as I looked around in the church today, I realized this community is very blessed. We were here with His Eminence when you first came. When you first came as the priest here, we came. And today when I walked in and saw the iconostation and saw this beautiful hall, this is what it's all about. It's a community working together. And the young people, many of you, I have young people who call me every day, Paulette, can you help me find a job? And I would like to find you all jobs in the Archdiocese or in the church. Because when I went to the Archdiocese, it was, Greek Orthodox may help you. I shouldn't say anything because now I went back the other day and it's again, Greek Orthodox may help you. But the point is, we in Leadership 100, and let me just tell you quickly about this. Leadership 100 is called officially Archbishop Iakovos Leadership 100. He started this program in '84 because he said, I'm tired of asking the priests and the parishes to spend so much of their money to help sustain the Archdiocese. They have broken heaters, they have broken pipes, they have programs. They can't give any more to the church. So he said, I would like to find 100 people to give $10,000 for 10 years. And that money would not be used for the budget. It'll go into an endowment program. You will only use the interest for ministries. You will not use it for anything but giving back for seeding and nurturing new programs. So he started this program. And as of today, we have given $39.5 million back to the church. Now, where have we given it? We have young men who want to become priests. They have a calling to be priests, but they don't have the funds to go to school. So what do? We provide $10 million scholarship to Hellenic College. It's $1 million a year for 10 years. And this money is to help young men. It's not for the college, it's only for the theological school. And then after they graduate, the entire loan, it's like a scholarship loan, is paid in full. If after 3 years they're not ready for ordination, and of course if they need more time because they want to find a presbytera, then the president of the school, Father Nick, and the Archbishop Demetrius will give them more time. But if after 3 years they decide they want to be a lawyer or a doctor or a banker, they have to pay the school back. We don't want the money back. It goes back to Hellenic College. But if after 3 years they're ordained, we wipe the entire tuition paid in full. Now, a young man who was in Iraq came back, and when I met with his class, he said, Paulette, I'm one of those people who are signing for ordination because of Leadership 100. My parents were elderly, living on a fixed income. And when we heard, I knocked on every door and they told me, sorry, we want to help you, we can't. And somebody said, go to Leadership 100. The minute we came to Leadership, you paid my tuition. And today I'm signing my papers tomorrow for ordination with my metropolitan. And he said, what can I do for you? I said, well, when you go to a community, help find us some members. And he did. He's been a priest. He brought me 3 members already. So the point is, it's not about the money, because the endowment program today is at $90 million. So His Eminence was right. I may not be a CPA, but I'm working with figures. But the $90 million is not used. We help the youth camps. Every year we give every metropolitan $30,000. There's 9 metropolises, including the direct district. And with that $270,000, they are asked to help young kids who want to go to camp and can't afford to go, to pay their tuition for a week or 2. That's what we do every year with each metropolis. Teo Nikolaikis, who's a dear friend and who has done a wonderful job with IT, and we gave the seed money to start that program. And thanks to Teo, you can go on and get all the information, and you can get the bulletins, but also the Orthodox Christian missions program. We gave the first money. We gave the first $1 million to IOCC, and Archbishop Iakovos was there with Andy Athens and John Rangos to put the medicines and foods on the first plane that left for Russia. International Orthodox Christian Charities. We believed in it, and we gave the first $1 million. So what am I saying to you? That it's not about taking, it's about giving back. And when I came back to the Archdiocese after His Eminence passed away, they asked me to become the director, executive director of this program. And I started a program called Partners. It's for young professionals. And we know they can't pay $10,000 a year, so we've started it at $2,000 a year. From when they're 18 until they're 30, they pay $2. Then when they're 30 to 35, they pay $4. By the time they're 46, they pay the first 10. Now, we have 160 young people in this Partners program. It's headed by two wonderful people. One is George Sotirakis, and the other one is Justin Bozanelis. And these young men are creating programs so that you will all come, hopefully, to our conferences. We do that once a year, and we have programs to mentor our young people. We have speakers that can help you in your professional life. So it's a great program, it's a great thing, but more importantly, to the young people, I have one message, that God has given you many talents and many gifts, but the greatest gift you have is your faith. So when you go out into the business world or the schools, wherever you go, remember to put the little icon with you. Remember either to put it in your pocket or to have it in your room. But never forget your faith, because the young people that we lose and then they come back when they have their children, this is a whole gap. It's a whole different thing. I've taught Sunday school for many years. And Father Peter's mother and father, Father John of blessed memory, and Presbytera Margaret, they do the oratorical contest. They've done it. They created it. They organized it to get young people involved. And many times when I see young people today, I say, what church do you belong to? And if I remember years ago, Archbishop Iakovos would visit campuses, and he would say, what church do you go to, John? He'd say, no, Father, I only go Christmas and Easter. There's nothing there for me. And His Eminence, we didn't have cell phones. He'd go back, call the priest and say, there's a young man at so-and-so university. You get over there, and even if you have to put blue jeans and play basketball with him, you get that young man into the church, and I will call you in 4 weeks to see what happened. And 4 weeks later, he called. So I'm saying that because the church is the home. It's the foundation. Your families have laid the foundation, and you're all here, so that means they've done their job. Now it's your job. And we are here to help you, not just in Leadership at 100, not just with Father Peter, but all of us here today. We love you, and we want you to be motivated and inspired. Believe in God and believe in yourself. That's the key. Thank you.